A thin autumn morning mist lay over the small town of Windermere, pale sunlight filtering feebly through the living room window and glazing the simple wooden table. Ethan Walker opened his eyes to the cracked, aged ceiling, an unwelcome reminder of how long he'd lived in this house with his grandmother and his mother. As he awoke, the faint antiseptic scent drifted in from the room beside, where his mother lay fighting her cancer. He drew a deep breath and closed his eyes, trying to still the ache at his chest. Silently, he reached for his phone on the bedside table and flicked to his medication reminders. 6:45 a.m. Before his finger could tap the screen, his grandmother's soft footsteps sounded in the hallway. "Ethan, you awake?" Her voice trembled but was full of warmth. Ethan nodded, pulled himself up, and shrugged on his thin wool sweater. His expression was still unreadable when Grandma Margaret appeared at his side and laid a knitted shawl over his shoulders. Her hair was white as frost, her back bent slightly, her thin hands shook ever so gently. Ethan managed a small smile through his tears. "Feeling better, Grandma?" Margaret shook her head, smiling through chattering teeth. "I'm old, I'm always cold. Go prepare your mother's medicine." Her tone was weak but resolute, the same strength she'd shown for years. Ethan bowed his head and stepped down the corridor into his mother's room. Inside, the only sounds were the steady beeping of the heart monitor and his mother Anna Walker's faint breaths. She slept, dark circles under her eyes, once lustrous hair now thinning. Ethan steeled himself. No tears. He had to stay strong. At exactly 6:45, the kitchen clanged with the sounds of pots and pans. Ethan opened the fridge, grabbing a carton of skim milk and a whole grain roll. He lit the gas stove and set a small kettle for ginger tea. In his mind he ran the day's checklist: drop calculus homework at school, run to the pharmacy for gauze and bandages, visit Mom in the hospital before class. His own classes had never truly belonged to him. Every morning's quick breakfast was simply a tool to buy time. But for his mother and Grandma Margaret, that small meal was the only warmth left in their home. He carried the tray into his mother's room. "Mom, time for your medicine," he said gently. Anna stirred, smiling weakly at her son. "My son," she whispered, voice fragile but full of love. Ethan squeezed her hand and lifted the spoonful of milk and roll to her lips. She ate in tiny bites, trying to hide the pain. His heart clenched, but he blinked back tears. Ethan was always the quiet, controlled one, but inside he felt like a tidal wave of grief. While his mother finished her medicine, Ethan turned away and gripped Grandma's shawl. Two mothers, one on the hospital bed, one bravely bearing time's weight. He felt the weight of the world on his shoulders. He'd learned independence years ago, making breakfast, handling bills, driving the old car to school. His classmates saw a silent top student who aced every exam. They never saw the darkness behind that bright facade. At 7:30 the morning bell rang. Ethan bowed to his mother and grandmother, swung his backpack over one shoulder, and stepped out into the crisp air. Leaves rustled gold as a chill wind ruffled his narrow frame. The road to Windermere High School wound past the little lake and rows of maples, their red and gold leaves shimmering. Head down, pace quick, Ethan welcomed no greetings or curious looks. He simply passed through the old iron gate and lifted his eyes to the red brick facade. Windermere High was renowned for academic excellence, its honor roll stretched on and on. As an all-round top scholar, Ethan was often summoned to the stage to receive awards, but he never joined any clubs or performances. He knew he was different. His schooling and his family's needs had consumed his youth. Inside the bustling hallway, he slid past the lockers to fetch his math notebook and pen for first period. His deskmate Lily, tall, brown-haired, waved. "Ethan, have you done the tough math problems today? I need your notes." She smiled warmly, but Ethan shook his head and said simply, "I've uploaded them to the group." Then he turned to face the blackboard. When the teacher assigned a complex quadratic equation, every eye drifted to Ethan. He rose calmly, strode to the board, and wrote each step clearly and neatly. The classroom was silent save for chalk on slate. When he finished, the teacher smiled. "Excellent, Ethan. Perfect work." Applause rippled through the room. Ethan bowed and returned to his seat, but his heart pounded not from pride but from the image of his mother waiting for pain relief in the hospital. He managed a brief smile for the teacher, but his gaze was distant, because for him, grades were the only path to a scholarship and a part-time job to help his family. Recess rang in with chatter and laughter. Ethan slipped on earbuds and let classical music block out the world. By noon he'd be serving at the corner cafe, earning enough to cover his mother's prescriptions. No greetings, no small talk, just a boy bent under the weight of responsibility, moving too fast for his years. After school at 3 p.m., he closed his notebook, slung on his backpack, and walked past the now gray sky. The wind bit stronger now, but he accepted it. This was his life, relentless, pressured, and it fueled his determination. He would care for his mother, protect his grandmother, and repay the debts of loss from when his father died too soon. Ethan crossed the street and turned into Sterling Cafe. He straightened his shirt and greeted manager Jenna. Then he began his shift, taking orders, serving drinks, always professional, always hiding the fact that he was still a teenager carrying the world on his shoulders. Occasionally a customer marveled, "You're so young but so capable." Ethan just shrugged politely. "I still have homework tonight, so I make the most of my time." Then he continued. When night fell and the cafe's warm lights glowed, Ethan finished his shift at 8 and headed back to the little lakeside apartment where Grandma awaited. His mother was back in her hospital room, resting. He cooked a simple dinner, egg noodles, steamed vegetables, and apple juice, for Grandma Margaret. They ate in silence, knives and spoons as their only conversation, eyes filling with love and fatigue. Before bed, Ethan sat by the window and watched the moon's reflection on the water. He touched the small locket on his neck, inscribed with his father's words, "Live for family, live for tomorrow." He breathed deeply, resolve hardening. No matter how uncertain the future, as long as his heart stayed ablaze, one day the darkness would give way to light. And above all, he promised himself, he would never give up. Monday morning sunshine streamed through the classroom window, warming the old wooden desks of 11A3. Inside, chatter rose, but in the rear corner sat Sophia Lancaster, slender, brown-haired, her posture straight, eyes fixed on Ethan Walker. Only 3 rows apart, she never dared say hello, she simply watched, how he held his pen, each neat stroke, his calm poise like an untouchable bubble. Born into a wealthy family on the city outskirts, Sophia's white villa and flower gardens sparkled under the afternoon sun with her parents and little brother. But unlike her peers, she disliked flashy parties. She found joy in books, tending her plants, and observing life. Months ago, when she transferred to Windermere High, she'd heard much about the top student who never joined any activities. His reputation as the cold boy only deepened her curiosity. During Monday's math class, Sophia sat by the window, feeling the cool breeze rustle the red maple leaves outside. Her notebook lay open with half-finished problems, but her mind kept repeating, "Has Ethan solved it yet? Is his answer correct? Why is he so unfazed by pressure while I shake at every oral quiz?" She bit her lip anxiously, heart pounding with admiration and nervousness. After class, she quietly gathered her books but didn't dare approach Ethan, who still stood at the board solving equations. As the room filled with whispers, she looked out into the hallway with the dancing leaves, her heart racing. Will I ever have the courage to call his name? That afternoon back at the Lancaster estate, she heard her parents in the living room. Mr. Richard Lancaster, CEO of a multinational, said gravely, "Walker's son had complications after his latest chemo. Their medical bills are huge, but they refuse charity." Mrs. Elizabeth begged, "We must help them, Richard. I know doctors at St. Mary's. I'll arrange for them to care for his mother without Ethan finding out." Sophia crept closer to the door, heart tightening. "Ethan," she whispered to herself. She stepped inside softly. "Mom, Dad. I want to help, even a little." Mr. Lancaster smiled kindly. "Thank you, Sophia. But just focus on your studies, leave the rest to us." Mrs. Lancaster nodded. "If you need anything, just say so." Within days, Sophia quietly contacted St. Mary's through her mother's connections. She arranged for a doctor to visit Anna Walker at home, covered all treatment costs, home care, even physical therapy for Grandma Margaret, Lancaster funds, all hidden from Ethan and his mother. Each evening she'd check the insurance forms and medical updates, relieved to see Mrs. Walker stabilizing. Whenever Sophia passed the hospital gate, she'd pause and gaze at its elegant corridors of white walls and marble floors, observing tired faces and limping feet. "Their home care is excellent," she'd overhear. "Mrs. Walker worries no more." She told herself that even this small invisible support eased Ethan's burden. Sophia's heart ached with mixed emotions, joy at helping, fear he might feel indebted if he knew. She resolved to keep it secret so her love remained a gift, not a debt. This was what unspoken affection meant, giving silently without expecting anything in return. One Wednesday evening, Sophia walked by the lakeside park near St. Mary's, water calm, swans drifting. She sat on a bench and opened her diary, reading her old entries. A voice called, "Miss Lancaster, I see you here often." She looked up to see Dr. Henry, the doctor caring for Grandma Margaret. "I'm Henry," he said kindly. "Thank you for helping the Walker family." Blushing, Sophia replied, "I just did what I could." He smiled. "Thanks to you, Mrs. Walker's condition improved, and Grandma is stronger." Sophia nodded. As he walked away, her heart fluttered. She was truly changing his life. She vowed, "I will keep going." Late at night in her elegant yet lonely Lancaster suite, Sophia sipped a glass of orange juice on the balcony, imagining Ethan's rare smile when he learned his mother was out of danger. Her heart warmed, but she wondered, if he ever knows, will he think of me differently? Will our love remain pure? She whispered to the moonlit garden below, "No matter what, I'll always be here, quietly by his side." And in that still night, her pulse quickened with hope, weaving their two destinies together, the gentle girl and the silent boy. After hearing that Ethan's mother was in critical condition and that their medical bills kept rising, Sophia Lancaster could not sit still, her heart full of worry and guilt. She told herself, "I have to do something, even if it's small." Early the next morning, at dawn's first light, Sophia quietly slipped out of her family's grand villa and walked along the flagstone path by the lake to St. Mary's University Hospital. Her long brown hair flowed behind her, her pale blouse and light green skirt making her seem like a breath of fresh air against the red brick facade and golden columned arcade. By midday back at the Lancaster estate, Sophia took a seat opposite her parents in the drawing room. Mr. Richard Lancaster, in a tailored suit and tie, listened as Sophia laid out her plan. Mrs. Elizabeth gently placed a hand on her daughter's shoulder, eyes full of sympathy. "Richard," Sophia said firmly, "we must support the Walker family fully and openly, no more secrets." Mrs. Lancaster glanced at her husband and nodded. "I've already spoken to the hospital director. We will underwrite all their medical expenses and home care, but remain anonymous so Ethan won't feel burdened." That afternoon, through her parents' contacts, St. Mary's assigned Dr. Henry Clark, a specialist in palliative care, to oversee Anna Walker's case. One Thursday afternoon, Sophia presented herself in Dr. Clark's polished office, golden light warming the walnut furniture. "Hello, I'm Sophia Lancaster," she said, handing him her card. Dr. Clark read it, then looked up kindly. "You're related to the Walker patient?" Sophia nodded and explained, "My family will cover all of Mrs. Walker's treatment and in-home care costs. We wish to handle everything promptly, and privately." Dr. Clark smiled. "Rest assured. I'll arrange nurses, physical therapy sessions, and psychological support for Grandma Margaret. All expenses will be recorded under an anonymous sponsor. You need not worry. Thus began Sophia's campaign of silent support. Each afternoon after school at Windermere High, she stopped by the hospital. She never met Ethan face to face. Instead, she signed her name discreetly on the financial sponsorship forms, pledging her support. She watched nurses attentively care for Anna Walker. She saw Grandma Margaret smile when the physical therapist chatted with her. Sophia felt a fierce joy at knowing she had eased their burdens. Whenever she passed the hospital entrance, Sophia lingered a moment to admire its stately corridors and whitewashed walls. She overheard exhausted voices. "This home care service is wonderful. Mrs. Walker has nothing to worry about now." She whispered to herself that even this unseen assistance helped lighten Ethan's load. Inside Sophia's heart, each day was charged with mixed emotion: pride in helping, relief that they were better, and anxiety that the truth might one day surface. She resolved that her secret would remain forever hidden, her affection unfettered by repayment. She knew that some loves are offered silently, without expectation of return. One evening, Sophia walked through the riverside park near St. Mary's, water smooth as glass, swans gliding gracefully. She sat on a bench and opened her diary, reflecting on her small but vital role. "I only wish to do the right thing," she wrote. Suddenly, a warm voice sounded beside her. "Hello again, Miss Lancaster. You've been here often." Startled, she looked up to see Dr. Henry. "I'm Henry," he introduced himself, "the doctor caring for your family." Sophia bowed her head. "I only did what I could." He nodded appreciatively. "Thanks to you, they have every chance to recover. We'll continue monitoring them closely." Feeling both humbled and determined, Sophia watched him walk away and vowed, "I will carry on." That night in her elegant but lonely bedroom, Sophia closed her eyes and pictured Ethan's rare smile when he heard his mother was stable. Her heart warmed with hope. "No matter what," she whispered to the moonlit street below, "I will always be here, silently by his side." One late autumn afternoon, weak golden rays tinged the flagstone path leading into Crestmont University, where Ethan Walker had just been admitted with outstanding grades. Gone was Windermere High's familiar red brick gate. In its place stood a modern, European-style complex of blue-tinted glass and sturdy steel, surrounded by rolling lawns. Ethan paused beneath the archway, slinging his worn backpack over one shoulder, his heart heavy with memories of hardships past, the long hours of study, the nights spent by hospital beds, the endless calculus problems, and the bowls of chicken congee his mother prepared each morning. He inhaled deeply and brushed a stray leaf from his sleeve. "I made it," he whispered to himself, recalling his childhood dream of attending this very school, a place of renowned professors, a vast library, and generous scholarships for students in need. Steeling his resolve, he stepped across the threshold, the click of his shoes echoing on the stone floor alongside the hum of new students. Back at the small apartment across the Willow River, Grandma Margaret and his mother Anna waited eagerly. Margaret, having recovered well from her last treatment, now walked steadily and wore a rosy glow. Anna, although her hair was thinner and her eyes still bore traces of past suffering, smiled with renewed hope. That evening, Ethan returned home to find his mother chopping vegetables and Grandma Margaret seated in a chair by the window overlooking the river. He gave a small, relieved smile. "I'm home." Anna turned, her face lighting up. "Did you get your acceptance letter?" she asked, eyes bright. "Yes," Ethan nodded. "They sent my student account information this morning. My first semester starts next Monday." Margaret rose and embraced him. "I'm so proud of you, my boy," she whispered, tears shimmering in her eyes. Ethan squeezed her hand, voice thick. "Thank you both for always standing by me." Their dinner that night was simple but filled with warmth: steamed rice, braised chicken in sweet soy sauce, winter squash soup with spare ribs, and a pot of ginger-infused herbal tea. Margaret exclaimed over the soup's flavor. Anna added, "Our friend from the Lancaster family even sent some manuka honey to boost your strength." Ethan laughed shyly, "I'm the lucky one." The next morning, Ethan attended his first class, Foundations of Analysis and Calculus. His knowledge far surpassed the introductory material, and he sat in the middle row, notebook open as Professor Turner, a leading expert, outlined the semester's curriculum. 3 core courses lay ahead: mathematical analysis, probability theory, and computer programming. Ethan listened intently, taking meticulous notes and mapping out a study plan. That afternoon, he hurried to Bloom Cafe, where he'd secured a part-time job as a barista and cashier. The cafe sat on a quiet, tree-lined street under birches. Inside, warm wooden decor and soft lighting invited patrons to linger. Owner Emily, a friendly middle-aged woman, greeted him with a grin. "Ethan, you're early again." "I like to be prepared," he replied. Working at Bloom was demanding, long hours on his feet, the lunch and dinner rushes, but for Ethan it meant independence, covering rent, travel costs, and a little extras for his mother. He never complained; instead, he took pride in providing for his family on his own. Meanwhile, in London, Sophia Lancaster quietly monitored their progress. She'd learned which scholarships and grants Ethan had received, printing each approval email and filing it in her private binder. She also liaised with Dr. Clark to ensure Anna and Margaret continued to receive top-quality care and supplies. One evening, while reviewing her notes in a quaint tea house by the city square, paper lanterns reflecting in the fountain, Dr. Clark arrived with an updated medical report. "Mrs. Walker's health remains stable, but she still needs nutritional supplements and in-home therapy." Sophia nodded. "I'll arrange another 6-month care package, including physical therapy sessions and regular checkups." The doctor smiled. "You've done so much already. They owe you their recovery." Sophia merely replied, "I'm glad to help." That night, back in her tidy London flat, Sophia planned her next steps, coordinating pharmacy deliveries, extending health insurance coverage, and setting up priority library access for Ethan at Crestmont. Each keystroke carried the weight of her unspoken devotion. Late that night, Ethan sat at his desk in the dorm, poring over analytic geometry problems. His phone buzzed with a message from a number he didn't recognize. "Congratulations on your admission. Your scholarship and health support package have been approved. Check your student portal for details." Ethan clicked the link and saw 2 new awards, a full-ride academic scholarship and an emergency medical grant covering his mother's care for the coming year, enough to pay tuition, living expenses, and all hospital bills. Tears brimmed as he realized he could let go of the constant financial worry. He typed a quick note. "Thank you, generous sponsor. I would love to meet and express my gratitude in person." A system reply appeared. "Please contact Student Services for details. The sponsor's identity will remain confidential by request." Ethan closed his eyes, heart warmed by the knowledge of an unseen guardian, perhaps the silent girl from the row beside him so long ago. "One day," he promised himself, "I'll find you and say thank you." On the other side of the world, Sophia lay awake in her canopy bed, planning their next year's support, extended pharmacy services, mental health counseling, and ongoing tuition coverage. Each plan she crafted bore her quiet love. And somewhere, under the same moonlight, 2 hearts beat in unison, one guided by gratitude, the other by devotion. A biting November wind swept golden maple leaves across Ethan Walker's tiny student apartment, carrying with it the faint scent of pine from the surrounding hills. The room, barely 10 square meters, held a simple single bed against one wall, a small bookshelf beneath the window, and a cluttered desk piled high with textbooks and notebooks. Ethan sat under the yellow glow of a single bare bulb, jaw clenched in both exhaustion and resolve. Half a year earlier, his mother Anna had walked out of the hospital after intensive treatment, saved, in no small part, by the Lancaster family's secret sponsorship that covered top-of-the-line medicine, rotating nursing care, and daily physical rehabilitation. He had watched his mother regain her strength, Grandma Margaret find her spark again, and he'd earned his full Crestmont scholarship on the back of their recovery, fulfilling his promise to care for them. Today he stood in Crestmont's grand lecture hall for the first time as a freshman. Autumn's fiery maples lined the footpaths, bistro tables and benches ready for debate and study. Ethan closed his eyes for a moment, recalling those high school days of burning midnight oil over calculus, living on instant noodles, and breakfast rolls made in haste. He smiled, planting himself firmly in the present. "I made it," he whispered. His first university lecture, Advanced Function Theory, was taught by the famous Professor Hastings. Lines of students filled the tiered seats, shoulders bent under backpacks stuffed with textbooks. On the board, Professor Hastings scrawled complex integrals. Ethan raised his hand when a classmate stumbled over the Fourier transform of a Gaussian function. "Yes, it requires integrating over the entire real line," he said calmly. The professor nodded appreciatively. "Exactly. Thank you for that clarification." Applause rippled through the hall. Ethan sat back down, heart pumping, not from pride, but because he'd found his place. That afternoon, instead of heading home to the cramped room with its shared kitchen, Ethan chose the hallowed quiet of Albert Library. Marble columns, vaulted ceilings, and aisles of dusty academic tomes greeted him. He claimed a study carrel by a window overlooking the duck pond, opened his notes on measure theory, and recorded his own narration of the lecture for later review. He scribbled reminders on index cards, see Chapter 5, p. 132, Integral Substitution Example. Every detail mattered. At 1 o'clock, he checked in at the Student Employment Office. As a part-time barista at Bloom Cafe, he scanned his ID card, signaling the start of his shift. His entire monthly wage was carefully budgeted for rent, groceries, and a small allowance for his mother's fruit and supplements. He wore hand-me-down clothes, carried a second-hand backpack, and photocopied library books rather than buy them. By evening, Ethan was back at Bloom, serving red velvet lattes and oat cappuccinos to professors and fellow students. A sophomore recognized him. "Mr. Walker, I heard you in Professor Turner's lecture this morning. You're amazing." Ethan only smiled and said, "I'm glad I can help," before returning to the till. Meanwhile, in London, Sophia Lancaster continued her silent sponsorship behind the scenes. She and her mother visited Crestmont Student Health Services to extend Anna Walker and Margaret Walker's comprehensive medical coverage under the Lancaster Family Trust. She arranged unlimited mental health counseling access for Ethan through the university's Wellness Center, knowing he bore his burdens alone. At St. Mary's, she met with nurse manager daily to deliver fresh supplies of supplements and therapy equipment. Each act added another layer of security to the family she'd never met. Back in Crestmont one evening, Ethan received an unexpected email notification. "Student Services. Your year-round support package has been approved by the Student Assistance Fund. This includes full tuition, room and board, and comprehensive medical coverage for your immediate family through spring 2030. He stared at the screen in disbelief. News he'd never dreamed. "I don't have to carry this alone anymore," he breathed. He drafted a quick message. "Thank you to my benefactor. I would be honored to meet and express my gratitude in person." The automated reply read, "Your thanks will be conveyed in accordance with the sponsor's request for anonymity." Ethan leaned back in his chair, tears welling. He realized that somewhere, someone had watched his struggle and quietly lifted him up. He whispered into the night, "One day, I will find you and say thank you." And so, beneath the moonlit spires of the ancient library, two hearts beat in unison, one filled with gratitude, the other with unwavering devotion, even as neither had yet spoken the other's name. A late November wind blew crimson maple leaves across the Crestmont University campus, painting deep streaks across the flagstone paths. Half a world away, under the brooding gray skies above the Lancaster estate, a financial storm was gathering in secret. In the grand boardroom of Lancaster and Company, a long ebony table was buried under stacks of thick audit files. Richard Lancaster, long celebrated for his executive prowess, closed his eyes and wiped sweat from his brow. Beside him, Elizabeth Lancaster, always the picture of composure, sat silent, sipping her tea with teary eyes, forcing a smile to ward off the tension. The independent auditor's review shows 2 years of concealed phantom losses, Richard sighed, voice trembling. I never imagined our own ranks could hide such a yawning gap. Within hours, leaked emails accusing the company of fraud swept through internal channels and into the media. Lancaster and Company, once the pinnacle of prestige, became a scandalous headline. Share prices plummeted, clients cancelled contracts, partners demanded immediate payment, and regulatory penalties loomed. Every door seemed to slam shut on the Lancaster name. In this crisis, Richard summoned his family back to the mansion. In the ornate drawing room, mirrors framed in gilt, marble columns gleaming, the air felt heavy. We must leave the country for at least a year, he announced. Until this blows over. Elizabeth's eyes brimmed with tears. But what about Sophia? Her studies, her master's program, are still underway. On a leather armchair, Sophia sat pale and trembling. She had poured her heart into preparing for international exams and applications to a prestigious graduate school. Now it all lay in ruins. I can't abandon my friends, my professors, and Ethan. She choked. Richard gently took her hand. Sophia, he said quietly, it's time we openly support the Walker family instead of hiding it. Sophia met his gaze and nodded. Father, Mother, I still believe we should take full financial responsibility for Mrs. Walker's care, and fund Grandma Margaret's rehabilitation openly. Elizabeth exchanged a glance with Richard and whispered, we'll underwrite all medical and home care costs, but keep it from Ethan so he won't feel indebted. Richard smiled with pride. We'll arrange a direct guarantee account with the hospital, cover every expense for nursing and therapy, and keep it confidential. Ethan must never know. Sophia exhaled, torn between relief and guilt at deceiving him. I only hope Anna recovers quickly so he needn't bear so much. Through her parents' connections, Lancaster and Company enlisted Dr. Henry Clark, a palliative care specialist, to oversee Anna Walker's treatment. One Thursday, Sophia appeared in Dr. Clark's well-appointed office in Building A, golden light illuminating walnut furnishings and a spotless desk. Hello, Sophia said, handing over her mother's calling card and Richard Lancaster's written authorization. I'm Sophia Lancaster. My family will cover all medical and home care costs for Mrs. Walker. I'd like everything done discreetly, without Ethan knowing. Dr. Clark read the card, then looked up kindly. Rest assured. I'll arrange nurses, physical therapy sessions, and psychological support for Grandma Margaret. All expenses will go under an anonymous sponsor. You needn't worry. Thus began Sophia's quiet campaign of support. Every afternoon after classes at Windermere High, she slipped into the hospital, not to see Ethan, but to sign the sponsorship logs, pledging treatment costs. In the system, she appeared only as anonymous benefactor, protecting her identity. She watched nurses care tenderly for Anna Walker, saw Grandma Margaret smile as the therapist chatted, and felt deep joy at knowing she had eased their burdens. Whenever Anna received an IV drip in the recovery room, Sophia gently touched her shoulder as she passed in the corridor. Grandma Margaret greeted her with a warm smile. Young lady, thank you for caring. Sophia blushed and looked away. It's nothing really. I just want everyone to be well. Margaret patted her hand. My son will be grateful forever. Sophia only nodded, keeping her secret. Inside, Sophia wrestled with a swirl of emotions each day, happiness at seeing Anna and Margaret improve, pride in her small part, and fear that one day her secret would be revealed. She kept a private journal. October 12. Today Mrs. Walker ate oatmeal on her own for the first time. I couldn't hold back my tears. Behind every bit of hope lies the cost of this secrecy. I pray that one day Ethan will understand how much I've cared and stood by him. In the attic study of the Lancaster villa, where Sophia drafted essays and recorded her diary, she confided in a decorative folding screen adorned with family portraits. A framed photo of Ethan, accepting his National Academic Award, hung directly beside it. She sank to her desk, shoulders shaking. "Perhaps I'm in love with him unrequited, in silence," she wrote. Yet immediately she forced a small smile. Silent love can be just as beautiful. Alongside her joy at Anna's steady recovery, Sophia felt the psychological weight of her double life. She had to juggle top-of-the-class academics with afternoon hospital visits and extra finance lectures. Though her family provided material support, they let her manage this alone. The pressure of time often left her stressed. She still had to finish homework and prep for the SAT and graduate applications. One sleepless night, Sophia dreamt of Ethan exhausted at his desk, piles of assignments towering over him. She awoke with a start, turned on her lamp, and hastily scribbled in her journal, "I fear he'll bury his youth in hospitals and textbooks. I must do more." Determined, she decided to call Dr. Clark daily to request mental health check-ins for Ethan, knowing he held burdens in silence. By late October, Grandma Margaret was discharged to a rental home next door. Sophia arrived with a team of nurses, bustling to rearrange rooms and install assistive devices for her care. Though she had never stepped inside this modest house before, she instantly grasped that Ethan's entire world was contained within its white walls and small front garden. There, clusters of purple lavender bloomed. Sophia thought, "Someday I'll plant more flowers here, to brighten his life." After handing over the final box of rehab supplies, Sophia quietly said farewell to Dr. Clark and the head nurse. "Thank you for working with me. The Walker women are doing so much better now." Dr. Clark nodded. "Thanks to you, they have a chance to recover fully. We'll keep monitoring them." Sophia took one last look at the house and felt a bittersweet pride. At last, even in silence, I have left a mark. One late afternoon, Sophia sat at a small cafe beneath the maple trees outside the hospital gate, nursing a cappuccino. She glanced up and saw Ethan emerge, leaning on Grandma Margaret's arm. Unaware she sat just across the square, he quietly thanked the nurses. Sophia closed her eyes, letting her heart race. Moments later, Margaret waved at her. "Young lady, thank you so much." Sophia managed a small wave and warm smile, then turned and walked away, Ethan's back never giving him a clue that the person who had saved his family sat just feet behind him. Her chest ached. He still doesn't know who helped him, she thought as she walked into the autumn night, leaves carpeting the sidewalks. In her mind bloomed a single wish: if only one day he sees the flowers I've planted, or hears my voice tell him what his mother and grandmother shared, he'll understand there was a girl loving him in silence all along. Time moved quietly on after Sophia left Crestmont. Winter melted into spring and the last snows on Ethan Walker's student lodging gave way to shoots of fresh green. Yet inside him, the memory of her kindness shone bright. One afternoon, his mother Anna Walker gently chided him, "You've been working so hard, but you never ask how Grandma and I are doing." That evening, as he climbed off the rattling bus and entered their rented loft, Ethan paused to steady himself. He unlatched the door and stepped inside the narrow hallway lined with his textbooks. In the living area, Anna sat by the small table, hands folded neatly. Grandma Margaret stood nearby, holding a knitted shawl. Both women's faces lit up at the sight of him. "Mom, Grandma," Ethan said, voice soft. "I'm home. How are you two?" Anna smiled tiredly. "Dr. Clark and," she glanced at Margaret, "our anonymous sponsor have arranged everything for the next month. You don't have to worry. Margaret drew herself tall, wrapping her shawl tightly. There's someone out there who cares more than we'll ever know. Ethan's heart leapt. Who? He asked, voice catching. Anna exchanged a glance with Margaret before answering. A young woman, she insisted on complete anonymity. She only said she wanted to help. Ethan's brow furrowed. But how did she manage it? Margaret approached him and placed a trembling hand on his shoulder. Through the hospital and Dr. Clark, she set up the trusts and the home care services. She told us to keep her name secret, because she didn't want you to feel indebted. The room fell silent as Ethan absorbed the truth. He thought back to the afternoons when he'd wondered who sent the supplemental vitamins, who organized the extra nurse visits, who provided the warm shawls for Grandma. He realized all along it had been her, the quiet girl from next door whose name he never even knew. I want to thank her, Ethan said finally, voice thick. Can we find out who she is? Anna hesitated, then nodded. We have a liaison at the Lancaster office. I will contact them and ask if she would reveal herself. Margaret smiled through her tears. It's time you know who your guardian angel is. Moved by relief and gratitude, Ethan embraced them both. As the spring dusk settled, he felt at last that he was not alone, and that soon he would meet the single piece of the puzzle that had made his family whole again. The early summer sunshine filtered through the flaming red flame trees over the little parking lot behind Ethan Walker's rented apartment, dispelling the morning's thin chill. Savoring the lightness in the air, he exhaled softly and thought, I must find her at once. His scooter hummed over the cobblestones alongside the gentle Willow River, carrying him into the heart of Crestmont, the city where Sophia had once studied and he had lived some of his happiest days. About 2 weeks after discovering that the masked benefactor was the petite girl from the next class, Ethan resolved to spend a weekend day tracing Sophia Lancaster's footsteps. First, he rode to the neoclassical Windermere University Library, its white marble columns and intricately carved cerulean dome still echoing students' footsteps and the soft rustle of turning pages. Presenting his old Windermere High ID and a request form, he asked to view the records of students who'd received full scholarships between 2018 and 2023. The librarian frowned, leafed through several thick ledgers, then nodded. Here, her name appears on the 2019 full-ride scholarship list. She then matriculated at Oxford University, majoring in finance. Ethan copied the old email address and representative phone number. His heart swelled with equal parts joy and anxiety. He fingered his phone, determined to message her right away. Back in his cluttered apartment, he closed the door and sat at his desk buried under papers and pens. With trembling hands, he typed. Hello Sophia, this is Ethan Walker, 11A3 from Crestmont High. Thank you for quietly helping my family all those years ago. I am deeply grateful and would love to see you again. If you're well, please reply to this message. He hit send and stared at the blank screen, as if his breath had stopped along with the silence. 15 minutes passed, then 30, then an hour, no sign of a read receipt. He tried again. Are you okay? I really want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. I'll be in Oxford on business at month's end, hope we can meet. Still no scene. Each message showed a single dash, indicating undeliverable. He sat stunned, this number is no longer in service. In growing frustration, Ethan turned to the Crestmont Alumni Facebook group and the Windermere High Friends Circle. He scrolled profiles for Sophia Lancaster, spotting an inactive, private account whose avatar was a sprig of lavender, her favorite flower. He sent a friend request with a note. I'm Ethan Walker. We went to high school together. I'd love to thank you. 24 hours later, his request was still pending. His chest tightened. She's as reserved as I thought. Yet a seed of despair took root. Does she really not want to meet me? Refusing to give up, Ethan dialed the old mobile number listed in the Windermere records. After 5 rings, it bounced to an automated cannot connect. He sat numbly, the tone echoing in his mind. Why didn't I ask sooner? If only I'd known she was my benefactor, I would have messaged or called. He remembered those precious high school days, so consumed by calculus and caring for his mother and grandmother that he never seized the chance to express his gratitude. Returning to his desk, Ethan opened his laptop and printed a heartfelt letter requesting a meeting. On a full sheet, he recounted the past, explained his delay, poured out his gratitude, and vowed to repay her kindness. Carefully sealing it in an envelope addressed to Oxford Student Services, where Sophia might pick it up, he paid the high international courier fee without hesitation. As he handed it over at the post office, the clock on the wall ticked loudly. Too much time has passed, but better late than never. Late that night, on his balcony overlooking the silent amber street lamps, he pressed a hand to his chest where his heart pounded. I've done everything I can. Now all that remains is to wait. The following week dragged on with no reply from Oxford. Every few hours he checked email, phone, and mailbox, only silence in return. Anxiety gnawed at him. He began to wonder, did she ever receive the letter? Did she read it? Is she avoiding me? In his loneliest hours, Ethan returned to tucked-away Albert Library, to the very window seat where he once studied calculus. He opened his laptop and typed into his journal, June 15th, I sent the letter yesterday, but I don't know if she ever read it. I regret letting so much time slip away. I beg her not to be angry with me. Ink smudged on the page as he sat lost among books and unspoken longings. In the hush of the night, memory painted Sophia in vivid detail, long brown hair cascading over her shoulders, gentle eyes resting on a park bench, drawing in the lavender's warm scent. He recalled every tender gesture, the shawl she draped on Grandma Margaret, the lavender flowers she planted in the garden, her soft words, "It's nothing, I only hoped to help." He vowed, I cannot let go. No matter how far away she is, I will find her. He reviewed all his clues one last time, Oxford email, ex-student directory numbers, the Department of Finance's postal address. He repacked his bag, planning to fly to England on a business trip, a joint financial math project, so he could seek her out in person. Now, in each determined step down Crestmont's silent hallways, Ethan no longer felt lost. He had found a purpose to drive every breath, to express his gratitude to the one who had saved his family's life. Yet he knew acutely that his thanks had come too late, for Sophia had moved on to build her life abroad, and their brightest memories had become bittersweet echoes. He promised himself, even if belated, I will not give up. She is the missing piece of my life I hold in my heart. I will go to Oxford, wherever she lives, find her, and offer my sincerest thanks. Beneath Crestmont's quiet streetlights and the night breeze tousling his hair, Ethan Walker lifted his gaze, eyes shining with one unwavering belief: the journey to reclaim love and gratitude is never truly too late. The final summer of his university years came to a close as Crestmont's boulevard trees sprouted fresh green leaves. Yet for Ethan Walker, no shift in nature could erase the burning hope he'd carried in his heart for 2 years. He had messaged, mailed letters, emailed Oxford, scoured social media, placed calls, even booked a round-trip ticket for a business trip to England, yet Sophia Lancaster remained vanished. That third-year summer, in his tiny rented room, walls painted a faded vanilla, windows overlooking the campus basketball court, he buried himself in his capstone thesis, applying probability theory to financial markets, hoping a perfect distinction would justify a valid reason to visit Oxford. Under the yellow desk lamp, he pored over formulas late into the night, eyes bloodshot from sleeplessness, preserving his sorrow as a private burden. The last time he reviewed the International Dispatch tracking number, the status read unclaimed or returned, a knife twisting in his soul. One autumn afternoon, after submitting his final paper, Ethan trudged into Bloom Cafe. He stared at the minimalist menu: latte, cappuccino, espresso, as the familiar aroma of roasted beans warmed the room, unable to dispel his emptiness. Emily teased with her usual cheer, "You were off early today?" He managed a wry smile, "Yes, got an appointment." He settled in a corner booth, opened his phone, and gazed at the graduation photo of him and Sophia from Windermere High. Her radiant smile, her sleek braid, those kindly eyes, they haunted him. He tapped to delete the image, then restored it. "I cannot forget her," he whispered. Resolute, he decided that if he could not find her himself, he would share their story with the world, a long-form article about overcoming hardship and the silent angel who had saved his family. Early the next morning, he raced to the student communications office with a 5,000-word proposal, the nameless benefactor and the journey to reclaim gratitude. Within days, it went live on the university news site and on his LinkedIn page. Alumni from Windermere, peers at Crestmont, even local press picked it up, sparking widespread curiosity about the anonymous girl who saved a family, and the unspoken kindness that spanned continents. Thanks to the article, Ethan received leads from old friends. "I heard she's in London, not Oxford. I have Sophia Lancaster's sister's contact. She works at Rothschild Bank." These breadcrumbs slowly formed a trail. Ethan excitedly screenshotted them all and sent them to his mother. "Mom, I have new leads." Anna Walker, though recovered, cautioned, "Don't get carried away, she may not wish to step forward." But Grandma Margaret, ever the stalwart in his life, took his hand firmly. "Your math is brilliant and your article heartfelt. I trust she'll read it and understand your heart." Ethan plunged in. He messaged Sophia's sister's company line, introduced himself and his wish to reconnect. He called Rothschild's switchboard seeking an internal email. Each afternoon he reported, waiting for a reply, message forwarded, no answer yet. They became the countdown in his heart: 24 hours, 48 hours, 72 hours. As his final year dawned, academic pressure and thesis deadlines overwhelmed him once more. He labored on his project, using AI to forecast stock markets, a collaboration with the university's computer science lab, and renewed his Bloom Cafe contract, spending long evenings serving customers before returning to his books at midnight. Yet through it all, his longing for Sophia never dimmed. Sometimes he streamed classical piano playlists, they were her favorite, and set up Google alerts for Sophia Lancaster. Sophia Lancaster, promotion, Sophia Lancaster, interview, Sophia Lancaster, scholarship. Each notification raised his hopes, only to be dashed when the story proved unrelated. He swallowed his tears and told himself, "Just one glimmer of hope is enough to carry me on." One late afternoon, as the willow-lined riverbank glowed under an amber sunset, Ethan sat on a bench overlooking the water and drafted an email to the Philippine embassy. Sophia had once mentioned her Filipino heritage on the day she won her Windermere scholarship. He wrote, "Dear embassy officials, I am Ethan Walker, a proud alumnus of Windermere High and Crestmont University. I have a former classmate, Sophia Lancaster, a Pacify Care scholar now working in London. I respectfully request assistance in contacting her, so that I may at last express my gratitude." In the gentle evening breeze, he sent the message with a fragile smile and a heart full of hope. Watching the river flow, he felt lighter. No matter the outcome, he told himself, he had not wasted his years of longing, he had done all he could to reach her, the one whose kindness had laid the foundation for his family's future. When term ended and he accepted his summa cum laude diploma on the Grand Hall stage, he beamed under the applause. Projections displayed Walker, Ethan, summa cum laude behind him. In the audience, Anna and Margaret, who had flown from Windermere, sat proudly, tears in their eyes. As he bowed to them, his gaze lifted, searching through the crowd for that one familiar face, Sophia Lancaster. After the ceremony, Ethan embraced his mother and grandmother, then dashed outside to the campus gate beside the new Audi A4 his parents gifted him. He sent a final text. "Today I received my degree with honors. I wish you could share this moment with me. I'm still waiting. Night fell, street lamps cast a warm glow, and Ethan Walker's heart remained steadfast. In the face of so many disappointments, he believed that hope could never be wasted, especially when it was nurtured by sincere gratitude and deep affection. Spring's first chill had barely lifted when dawn's mist clung to the balcony railing of the Lancaster and Company Tower in Canary Wharf, London. From the vast glass window, Sophia Lancaster gazed down at the slow-flowing Thames, recalling the gentle canal behind Windermere High. 6 years had passed, yet the image of the brown-haired girl, the hand-knit scarf, and those wistful eyes remained etched in her heart. Now a respected financial analyst, recently promoted to senior associate at a venerable investment bank, Sophia awoke each morning in her luxury riverside apartment. She undraped the blinds to a minimalist desk set before the river, opened her MacBook Pro, and scanned emails on her global credit derivatives project. On her wall hung 2 abstract paintings, one a sketch of Windermere High, the other the IPO cover for a firm she'd helped launch. Amidst her busy schedule of market reports and ad hoc meetings with Asian partners, Sophia maintained her ritual of a morning journal. Today's entry drew shaky letters. April 12, 2031, after 6 years, I hold the position and income I once only dared to dream of. Yet deep in my heart, the image of that calm-spirited student who quietly helped my mother still shines bright. She snapped the notebook shut, slipped into her charcoal business attire, her professional armor, and descended into the lobby. A stream of impeccably dressed commuters tapped RFID badges and hustled into elevators. Sophia no longer feared medical bills, her days were filled with market updates and profit analyses. Still, a hollow question lingered: what has become of Ethan? Late March brought a sudden urgent call from her mother, now Elizabeth Lancaster, revealing a U.S. civil lawsuit tied to the old financial scandal. You must return to Crestmont immediately, her mother's anxious voice insisted. By the next morning, Sophia was en route to Boston, then on to Eastchester, home of Windermere High. Passport stamped with many visas, she carried U.S. banking documents, letters of authorization, and an invitation from the school's headmaster to resolve family matters and oversee the school's endowment transfer. During the long flight, the images of her 17-year-old self flooded back, classroom strewn with notes, wrapping grandma's scarf against the chill, and Ethan's startled look when his full scholarship was renewed. She closed her eyes and whispered, "Now I must return and face the past." On April 15, the Lancaster and Company limousine glided to a stop before Windermere High's iron gates, the gold-lettered name faded with age. Sophia slipped out of her heels onto the stone steps. The campus, now refreshed with repainted fences, new asphalt courtyards, and air-conditioned classrooms, still bore its red brick soul. Spring breezes rustled the maple-lined walk, pink cherry blossoms drifting to the path. Sophia inhaled deeply, her pulse racing as memories welled up. She gazed at the red brick building, where she and Ethan had once stood 6 years ago, as if it were a beacon of hope and silent vows. Approaching the vice principal's office, she froze at the main building's arched entrance. A sharply dressed figure, gray suit coat, vintage fedora, leather briefcase, stood under the portico, on the phone. As the office door closed behind her, she pivoted, heart thudding. It was Ethan Walker. He'd grown taller and broader shouldered, his blue-gray suit tailored perfectly, crisp white shirt buttoned at the neck, thin wire-rimmed glasses lending him an air of intellect. Sophia stood frozen for a moment, perspiration beading her brow. Ethan glanced up from his phone, voice warm and measured. "Yes, Miss Smith, I'll send the revised documents right away." He snapped his phone shut, and his gaze met hers, whether by chance or design, it flickered with recognition. For a heartbeat they were both still. Outside, sparrows chirped, spring breezes stirred the blossoms. Sophia dipped her head in greeting, swallowing a gasp. Ethan's head tilted as he took in the sight of the girl who had once secretly saved his mother. Sophia. They stood a few steps apart, two souls once strangers and then a silent angel now reunited. The years of longing and unspoken gratitude converged in that instant. Spring winds grew stronger, scattering violet leaves around their feet. Ethan closed the distance with gentle steps, voice soft. "I'm so glad to see you again. You're here to finalize the endowment transfer, right?" Sophia nodded, her voice catching. "Yes. I came back to complete the scholarship fund transfer and handle some family matters. I didn't expect to run into you." Ethan smiled warmly. "Those are important things. As for me..." He glanced around, then leaned in to whisper, "I founded my own fintech company and become a principal investor in the Windermere Scholarship Fund. I wanted to continue the kindness your family showed us back then." Sophia stared at him, her heart fluttering. "I've waited for this moment for 6 years." Spring's last golden rays fell upon them. Windermere High was no longer just a memory, it had become the starting point of a new chapter. Hand in hand, they crossed the campus threshold, petals drifting around them, their souls intertwined by gratitude, love, and the promise of building the scholarship fund together, closing the circle on a silent kindness that had bound their hearts. Gentle afternoon sunshine filtered through the cafe willow and embers blinds, casting soft patterns on the oak tabletop and a single white tulip in its slender glass vase. The only sounds were mellow jazz drifting over the speakers, an oasis for students, professors, and anyone seeking a peaceful moment with their cappuccino. Plush armchairs lined the walls, offering a view of a small park across the street, where young maples swayed in the breeze. Sophia Lancaster entered with the same graceful poise she'd had in high school. She wore a cream cashmere sweater, an olive green midi skirt, her hair tied low with a few wisps framing her face. Her heart fluttered as she scanned the room. The window seat she'd once occupied in grade 11 sat untouched, dust motes dancing in the light. Her gaze froze on a familiar figure stepping out of the kitchen door, Ethan Walker. He wore a charcoal overcoat, held a steaming latte, and carried the calm confidence she remembered. Sophia drew a steadying breath and reminded herself, no more hesitating. She edged forward and tapped lightly on the chair's backrest. "Ethan?" Her voice, soft yet clear, carried across the hushed space. He turned, deep brown eyes flashing surprise. "Sophia." For a breathless moment, they stood still. Ethan set his latte down with a shy smile. "Hello. I didn't expect you here." Sophia managed a small nod, face a blend of nerves and warmth. I'm so glad to see you." He pulled out the chair for her. "Please, sit." She sat down, placing her handbag on her lap and folding her hands. He across from her, his gaze gentle. "You look unchanged, still gentle and serene." Their faces were bathed in golden light. Around them, the cafe noises, milk steaming, cups clinking, a distant summertime playing, faded into the background as they re-entered each other's orbit. He lifted his flat white in a quiet gesture of thanks before breaking the silence. "I'm sorry I didn't come find you sooner." His voice caught. Sophia met his eyes, tears welling. I understand. When I had to leave so suddenly, I couldn't say goodbye. I'm really sorry." Ethan shook his head. "No, it's me who should apologize. I hesitated for so long, even though I always wanted to see you again. All those messages and letters I sent. They never got through." She managed a small laugh through her tears. "I tried to find you, too. I checked email, old phone numbers. I realized you were looking for me, but I panicked. My family's crisis, it scared me, and I didn't want you to worry." Ethan reached across the table, taking her hand. "I was scared you might be in danger, so I didn't dare come running. But I always believed that no matter where you were, I would find you." He told her of Crestmont and London. "I started a fintech company and helped build the scholarship fund at Windermere and Crestmont. I hoped you'd see my gratitude in action. Sophia's eyes glowed as she let his words wash over her. I know now. Thank you for turning my family's hardship into your stepping stone. A hush fell. Sophia's gaze locked on his, emotion cracking her voice. I was afraid you might resent me for leaving so abruptly. I didn't know how to face you. Ethan squeezed her hand. I never resented you. I only worried about you. His warmth enveloped her. Tears of relief and joy slipped down her cheeks. Ethan gently wiped one away with his thumb. I'm sorry I let you cry alone. From now on, let's not let sorrow into our story. She threw her arms around him, feeling his heart beat in unison with her own. You truly are the most important person in my life. They spent the next hour talking about the future. Ethan shared his dream of founding the Lancaster Fund to support Windermere and Crestmont students, a living testament to the kindness Sophia's family had shown. Sophia's eyes lit up. I want to devote my financial expertise and donor network to make the fund sustainable. They sketched a plan on a scrap of cafe napkin, launch the fund's inauguration at Windermere next month, invite alumni, banking partners, and business leaders. Ethan would handle the technology, website, data management, while Sophia oversaw financial transparency and impact reporting. They stacked their hands together in a silent pledge. Together, we will keep spreading love. As evening fell, soft light danced through the windows. Sophia leaned over to place a grateful kiss on Ethan's cheek. Thank you. Thank you for everything. He smiled, gently brushing a stray lock of hair behind her ear. We have found each other again. The cafe door chimed, and lanterns glowed outside. Rising side by side, they stepped into the fading light, their footsteps echoing on the flagstones under blooming maples. Ahead lay a new journey of love, gratitude, and hope. At the end of school one afternoon, Windermere High's red brick paths glowed golden under the setting sun, and students' laughter mingled with the click of bicycle spokes. The little street to Willow and Ember was alive with mellow jazz. But for Sophia and Ethan, the space felt like a bridge between past and present, a moment for them to revisit the joys and heartaches they'd shared, the times they were near yet so far, and all the things they'd left unsaid. They sat at the corner table where a single lamp cast a warm glow on Sophia's grandmother's lined hands and Anna's weary but loving smile. Ethan placed 2 steaming cups of ginger lemongrass herbal tea before them. He smiled gently and asked, Do you remember the first time we met in the rain? Sophia closed her eyes, a soft smile playing on her lips. I remember clearly. I was walking to the library after class when the sky opened up. You ran over, pulled me under the archway of the red brick building, and handed me that thin raincoat. I stood there soaked, looking at you with a mix of gratitude and embarrassment. Ethan nodded. I remember your face, drenched, hair plastered, lips trembling as you seemed about to ask for help. He chuckled. I thought, she looks fragile yet so strong. Sophia looked at him, eyes shining. I was impressed by you, too, the quiet boy with the small umbrella, who didn't say much but whose eyes were so kind. In that moment, the sound of rain in their memories mingled with the cafe's mellow jazz. They looked into the distance, as if seeking that exact spot in time. Ethan raised his tea to his lips, breathing in its steam. Do you remember the nights you secretly brought Dr. Clark to my parents' house? Sophia nodded, voice soft. I tiptoed into the backyard, heard Mom coughing, and left the tray of medicine on the table. I was so afraid you'd notice. I didn't want to bruise your pride. Ethan looked down. I never knew it was you, but I heard nighttime knocks on the door, and later found medicine packages labeled Lancaster and Company. I silently thanked whoever sent them. Then he met her eyes. Without you, my mother and grandmother might never have recovered so swiftly. Sophia's eyes brimmed with tears. I was only worried you'd bear the burden alone. I didn't dare let you know. I didn't want you to feel sad. Under the cafe's dim light, their eyes glittered with unspoken regret and buried gratitude. Sophia remembered that rainy day in grade 12 when she'd been crammed into a crowded bus, her uniform still damp, and panicked when people shoved past. She recalled the moment she heard someone shout, "Watch out!" and found herself shielded in a quiet alcove. Both drenched, rain splashing their clothes, she had trembled and wept, "I was so scared." He had wrapped his arm around her, whispering, "I'm here, everything's okay." In her memory, that was the first time their hearts reached closer than words ever could. Another day that autumn, Ethan discovered a small scrap of paper on his desk, penned in delicate handwriting, "Thanks." No signature, no return address. He had picked it up and thought, it must be from her. Sophia nodded. "I wrote it, but was too shy to sign. I feared you didn't need a flowery thank you." Ethan kept that slip in his wallet for 6 years like a treasure. He once told her over coffee, "That little note proved I wasn't alone." Sophia smiled through tears. "I only needed that." Remembering his 5,000-word essay, Ethan had said, "When I wrote that piece, I thought of you, the unnamed angel hidden behind a scarf, who saved my family." Sophia had wept reading it. "You told every detail I never dared voice." He had squeezed her hand. "I wanted the world to know of your quiet kindness and love." In the cafe's warm hush, they listened to their own hearts. Every memory, rain and paper scraps, assignments and tears, blended with the gentle strains of summertime overhead. They realized they shared the same rhythm, unspoken love, deep gratitude, and a shared dream for the future. Sophia and Ethan rose together. He placed a single purple flame tree blossom on their table, one she had once planted, as a symbol of their memories. She smiled softly. "Each petal is a beautiful memory." Hand in hand, they stepped out into the softly glowing street. As twilight fell and stars began to shine, their footsteps marked the path forward, where past and future met, and love and gratitude intertwined perfectly. After that poignant cafe afternoon, Windermere drifted into a gentle dusk. Flame tree leaves shifted from vibrant green to golden hues, and lamplight blinked in old windows. Sophia Lancaster and Ethan Walker walked side by side over the cobblestones, each step echoing the deep rhythm of their hearts. Under the amber sky, words were unnecessary, they held hands in quiet affirmation that their feelings were blossoming. They paused before the century-old bronze statue in the courtyard, commemorating Windermere High's 100th anniversary, which depicted a student saluting the future. Ethan glanced at Sophia, eyes shining. "Want to sit for a bit?" She nodded, and together they settled on the stone bench behind the monument, away from the bustle. The hush wrapped around them as rustling leaves painted the air with a cool lullaby. Sophia gazed across the shimmering lake at the sunset and then turned to Ethan, voice tender. "I never imagined I'd walk this path with you again." He smiled, brushing her hand. "We lost so much time, but now, all I want is to stay by your side." Sophia rested her head lightly against his shoulder, arms circling his bicep. The autumn breeze made her shiver, but Ethan's warmth banished any chill. Her voice fell to a whisper. "I was afraid my feelings were unrequited, afraid you'd drift away." He tightened his hold. "I was afraid, too. Afraid you wouldn't grasp how grateful I am, afraid that when we met again you'd be a stranger." She looked up, eyes glossy. "Yet here we are." He leaned down, brushing his lips gently across hers. "I've waited so long for this moment." In that instant, their hearts overflowed, scattering every fear. They rose and strolled to the old flame tree's base, where Sophia once painted her first Windermere sketch. Golden street lamps illuminated its rugged bark. Ethan led her to the tree. "Do you recall the little painting you gave me here?" Sophia nodded, smiling. "I drew Mom's hospital room with Grandma by her side, hoping it would warm your heart." Ethan withdrew a folded sketch from his coat pocket and handed it to her. She unfolded it to find the exact image she'd drawn: soft yellow light, hopeful faces. "You kept it?" He nodded. "I keep everything from you, a token of your quiet love." Tears welled in her eyes. "I don't deserve this." He cut in with a gentle laugh. "There's no deserving, just two hearts found each other." That evening, he surprised her by the Willow River's edge, where he'd arranged a mobile dinner from willow and ember, fine cheese, crusty bread, and a bottle of red wine beneath swaying willows. Candlelight danced on the water. He poured wine, warm and steady. "I know you love classic candlelit conversations." Sophia laughed softly. "I dreamed of this moment 1,000 times, and it's more beautiful than I imagined." They clinked glasses. The wine's sweetness lingered like their newfound love. As the lanterns glowed around them, Ethan grew solemn. "Tell me, you've ever imagined us in the future together?" She clasped his hand, eyes alight. "I've dreamed of nothing else." He beamed. "I want to build a little house by Willow River, where we can care for our mothers side by side when we're older. I want you there, continuing your financial work but always with me." Sophia sighed happily. "I agree. I want to share everything with you." He squeezed her hand. "I promise to keep you warm, just as you kept my family warm." She nestled into his arms, her heartbeat steady. "You are the one I trust most." Above them, a new moon's silver glow shimmered on the lake, the night's lullaby sung by rippling water. In that union of sky and river, no words were needed, only the warmth of their embrace, the shared beat of two hearts, and the light of future vows. Sophia whispered, "I love this place, where it all began." Ethan replied, "And it will be where our own life truly begins." They smiled in unison as insects chirped around them. When the night deepened, Ethan knelt with a small black box engraved E+S 2025. Surrounded by candlelight, Sophia gasped, "Ethan?" He smiled radiantly, voice hushed yet strong. "Sophia Lancaster, will you marry me?" Her heart soared, tears of joy ran down her cheeks. "Yes. Yes, Ethan Walker." She nodded firmly and pressed a tender kiss to his lips in that enchanted spring night. Thus, in the gentle midnight breeze, beneath dancing candles, two hearts at last beat as one, opening a new chapter of warm, enduring love. Their first summer as an engaged couple flowed like a soothing melody. Side by side, Sophia and Ethan finalized their most important project, the Lancaster Fund, dedicated to scholarships for Windermere High and Crestmont University students, a symbol of friendship, gratitude, and the relentless pursuit of possibility. At the end of June, in the light-filled conference room of Walker FinTech, Ethan and Sophia pored over a detailed map of Windermere's campus laid out on the conference table, alongside stage designs, budget estimates, and sponsor lists. Morning sun streamed through the windows, illuminating their eager faces. "Sophia, let's hold our Dreams Festival on the 120th anniversary of the school's founding. It will include 3 segments: the fund's unveiling ceremony, a financial literacy workshop for students, and an awards program honoring outstanding alumni." Ethan, nodding, "Great idea. I'll handle the technology, live streaming the event, building the donation portal, and managing applicant data. You focus on finance, auditing reports and securing major donors." They pledged to work tirelessly until the big day. In that quiet room, their shared glance radiated the excitement of a busy summer filled with purpose and partnership. In the weeks that followed, the FinTech office burned the midnight oil. Ethan sat before his screens, coding low-latency livestream functions so the world could watch. Next door, Sophia wrestled with hundreds of sponsorship emails, cross-checking figures and drafting invitation letters. "Ethan, Sophia, can you recheck these operating cost figures? I worry they might be off." Sophia, on it, don't worry, I'll revise them now. From riverside cafes to London boardrooms and Crestmont's small office, they stayed connected by video call, keystrokes and rapid-fire updates punctuated by shared smiles before diving back into work. At night, Sophia welcomed Ethan's gentle goodnight kiss before sleep, a precious moment of calm before the next day's storm. 2 weeks before the event, Ethan returned to Windermere to see Grandma Margaret and Anna. Margaret's face lit up when she saw her grandson. "I've been so excited, Ethan." He hugged her. "I've taken care of everything. This festival will be a milestone for the scholarship fund." Anna, her hair now thinner but her gaze still bright, promised to attend with Margaret. "I'll be there too, dear." Ethan, voice thick, "Thank you for always supporting me." Sophia arrived soon after, greeting her future mother-in-law with a warm smile. Elizabeth Lancaster, standing between Anna and Margaret, eyed their connection approvingly. "You ladies are the very inspiration behind this fund." In the Grand Hall rehearsal, volunteers tested sound and lighting. Rows set for over 500 guests, the backdrop emblazoned with Lancaster Fund, flanked by school crests. Volunteer ushers scurried with programs and gift bags. Sophia braced herself as CEOs and local dignitaries inquired, "How many scholarships do you plan to award? What are your sustainability measures?" She responded with steady poise, "We guarantee 100% transparency. An independent academic panel will evaluate every application." Meanwhile, Ethan monitored the live stream's codec settings and signal strength on a headset. When he heard over his radio, "Mr. Walker, the stream is stable and ready to go," he exhaled with relief. At 10 a.m. sharp, the hall filled with students, parents, faculty, and guests. The headmaster of Windermere, the mayor of Crestmont, Elizabeth Lancaster, Anna Walker, and Margaret took the stage in turn. Finally, Ethan and Sophia walked up hand in hand. Sophia addressed the audience. "Ladies and gentlemen, today we are honored to launch the Lancaster Fund, a testament to enduring love, friendship, and gratitude. We pledge that this fund will support generations of students, empowering every dream to take flight." Thunderous applause filled the hall. Ethan followed. "No matter one's starting point, everyone deserves the chance to pursue their dreams. Today we award 50 scholarships, $5,000 each, to students from Windermere High and Crestmont University, along with a mentoring program to guide them toward success." The live stream drew thousands of online viewers, their comments brimming with praise for the initiative's impact. During the scholarship ceremony, each of the 50 recipients ascended the stage to receive their award, embracing Sophia and Ethan with beaming smiles. A hush fell when Emma Holmes, a student who'd lost her parents, held up a hand-torn sign, "Thank you, Lancaster." Sophia and Ethan clasped each other, pride shining in their eyes. "This is why we do it." Below the stage, Margaret and Anna wiped away joyful tears. Anna whispered to Elizabeth, "My little girl has grown, and that stoic boy has become warm and kind." The celebratory reception that evening was filled with laughter, music, and twinkling lights. Under a canopy of fireworks, Sophia and Ethan danced their first dance outside, every spark a reminder of the 14 chapters they'd lived through, woven with love, challenge, and hope. Engraved beneath the centennial statue now stood a new plaque. Lancaster Fund, since 2025. Each time they passed it, they recalled their humble beginnings and gave thanks for every small light that had guided them through the darkness. That night, amid music and applause, Ethan leaned close and whispered, "Thank you, my angel." Sophia smiled softly. "And I thank you, for giving me a second family." Hand in hand, they gazed at the starlit sky, confident in the journey ahead, because love and gratitude, once kindled, burn on forever. Windermere's streets in spring wore a cloak of renewal, cherry blossoms drifted pink along pathways, dew-kissed grass sprang anew, and morning light lit each dewdrop like a jewel. Students gathered for the graduation ceremony, faces alight with promise. Amid these familiar scenes, Ethan and Sophia strolled hand in hand, two souls bound by shared history and newfound joy. Early morning, Ethan roused Sophia gently. Sunshine filtered through white curtains, birdsong filled the air, and the aroma of traditional drip coffee from home wafted into their snug room above the school. He poured 2 tall cappuccinos with feathery crema and handed her a cup, voice low and tender. "Your morning coffee, my love." Sophia beamed, taking the cup, eyes shining. "Thank you, Ethan. Nothing's better than these peaceful moments with you." They sat by the window, watching graduates gather below, their smiles full of anticipation. Each shy grin, each hopeful gaze reminded Ethan and Sophia of the journey that had brought them here, proof of gratitude and the power of overcoming adversity together. The graduation ceremony under the old flame tree canopy saw Sophia, now Chief Financial Officer of the fund, and Ethan, Chairman of the Scholarship Board, present laurels, commemorative pins, and signed pledges for the next cohort. As each graduate ascended the stage, bright with pride, Sophia's voice trembled with emotion. "You are the new blossoms of Windermere. Trust in your dreams, no hardship can extinguish your light." Ethan followed with a gentle smile. "With the Lancaster Fund as your foundation, walk into the future with confidence." Each award says, "No one is left behind." Cheers and applause rang out. In the front row, Grandma Margaret and Anna sat, eyes glistening with tears of pride. After the ceremony, family and students mingled for photos by the Centennial statue, where countless childhood memories and their own special bond had been forged. Ethan and Sophia lingered on the stone steps, hands intertwined. "Sophia, I never imagined I'd stand here beside you on such a day." "Ethan, me neither. It all began with a rainy afternoon and a simple umbrella." They shared a tender kiss beneath the blossoms, closing one chapter and opening another for the two hearts now journeying together. In the weeks following, life flowed gently between Windermere and Crestmont. Days at the bank and the fintech office blended with evening fund planning sessions, virtual webinars, and alumni networking. They grabbed quick dinners beside the riverside noodle stall before diving back into their laptops. Sometimes Ethan would pause his latte making to bring Sophia a late-night coffee. "I won't let you burn the midnight oil alone." She'd rest a hand on his shoulder, return his kiss. "I only want to be with you." Though busy, they never let distance intrude. Weekends were reserved for family, strolling in the park with Anna, driving Margaret to the lavender field she loved, sharing herbal tea and morning stories. One early summer evening, Ethan surprised Sophia by leading her to the wooden footbridge over Willow River, where they'd had their first date. Lanterns strung along the railing, water shimmering below. He knelt, opened a small box engraved E+S 2025, but this time revealing an exquisite wedding band. "Ethan, Sophia Lancaster, you gave me love and kindness 6 years ago. Now I want to bind my life to yours. Will you marry me?" Tears of joy flowed freely as she nodded. "Sophia, yes, Ethan Walker." The wind chime overhead rang in the soft summer night, blessing the couple's union. Their simple wedding took place in a lavender garden, attended by close family and friends. Sophia in a flowing white gown, Ethan in a sharp suit. They exchanged rings and vows beneath purple blooms. As the jazz quartet played at last, they shared their first dance under a canopy of fairy lights, affirming that their love, once a quiet spark, had blossomed into a radiant flame. That spring's end was marked by a gentle first snowfall on the lavender, snowflakes mingling with petals. In their bridal suite, Ethan and Sophia sipped green tea and watched snow drift past the window. They reflected on their 16-chapter journey, from the rain-soaked meeting to the financial storm, the silent rescue, the long wait, and the joyous reunion. Sophia rested her head on Ethan's shoulder, soul serene. Each spring, we will remember and give thanks. Ethan stroked her hair, eyes soft with love. And for me, spring will always be you. In the whisper of falling snow, their two hearts beat together, proof that genuine love and gratitude remain forever in bloom. The final summer of the new school year dawned bright as ever. Scarlet flame trees lined Willow River, emerald grass flourished in the park, and sparrows chattered across campus. Their vibrant backdrop became a sweet benediction for Ethan and Sophia's life, those two souls who had once been angel and rescuer, now husband and wife, partners in love and purpose. One fresh morning at the Willow Lancaster cottage by the river, Grandma Margaret prepared breakfast in the knotty pine kitchen. A steaming pot of oatmeal porridge sat beside crusty artisan bread and fresh fruit. Anna Walker, now Sophia's mother-in-law, gave her daughter a playful pat. "Margaret, Sophia, dear, this oatmeal is just perfect." "Sophia, I wanted a nourishing breakfast to keep you both healthy." In the living room, Ethan coaxed their 3-year-old son, Oliver, from his bed. "Ethan, up early again, champ? Come down for breakfast." Oliver barreled into Margaret's arms with a squeal. Soon, the entire extended family gathered, Richard Lancaster visiting from London, arm around Ethan's shoulders, beaming. "Richard, my son and grandson make me proud." Laughter and blessings filled the room, Elizabeth savoring bread for Margaret, Anna sharing her herbal tea invention, Sophia outlining a free financial workshop for seniors, and Ethan boasting of his small investor app project. Clinks of tableware formed a warm family chorus. After breakfast, Sophia drove Oliver to Sunshine Preschool, kissed him goodbye, and headed to the Walker FinTech office, where she served as CFO. The airy space overlooked the river, decorated with light wood and lush plants. Staff greeted her cheerfully. "Staff, good morning, Ms. Lancaster." "Sophia, good morning. Today we meet with Green Fund about the sustainable investment wing of our fund." Inside the conference room, she presented financial models, profit margin analyses, and proposed portfolio structures. Colleagues listened, asked questions, and took notes. The meeting concluded smoothly with a new partnership agreement. At 5:30 p.m., Ethan left his live streaming duties for the online financial course, stopped by the preschool to pick up Oliver, who excitedly recounted his getting to know nature class while his little sister Emma smiled as Sophia began singing Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. They stopped at a street stall for Oliver's favorite dumplings before heading home by the river. By 6:30 p.m., the whole family gathered on the backyard lawn, where Ethan had set up a barbecue and string lights. Oliver darted around the fire pit, playing with Margaret and Anna, while Sophia and Ethan grilled mushrooms and kebabs and uncorked a bottle of red wine. At dinner, Ethan raised his glass. "Ethan, here's to my mother and grandmother, who built this home for us. This is our true family legacy." They clinked glasses amid laughter under the balmy summer sky. After bedtime stories, Oliver drifted off in Sophia's arms. She nestled into Ethan, whispering, "Sophia, you did so well. Ethan, we've accomplished so much, and our greatest treasure is family." Later, on the balcony under the twinkling night lights, Sophia wrote in her journal, "July 20, 2031, our little family is complete. Thank you, Ethan, for nurturing love, dreams, and gratitude." Ethan leaned close, voice soft. "Ethan, next year, I want to return to Oxford to teach fintech entrepreneurship. Will you join me?" "Sophia, absolutely." Hand in hand, they looked ahead to growing children, expanding scholarships, and fintech projects spreading across Europe and Asia. Their future was an expansive canvas waiting for their shared brushstrokes. In that serene summer night, Ethan slipped another ring onto Sophia's finger, engraved "Forever 2025, a vow without end." She kissed his hand. "Sophia, I am so happy to have found a love and a gratitude that never fade. Breathing in the lavender-fragranced air, they sealed their journey with a gentle kiss, 16 chapters woven of trials, transformation, and triumph. Time flowed on quietly as Willow River continued its gentle keep beside Ethan and Sophia's riverfront home, silent witness to their joys and challenges. In the first autumn after their wedding, flame trees blazed crimson while dawn's cool breath slipped through the Walker FinTech office windows. There, Ethan led his development team on Willow Investments, an app connecting small investors to social impact startups, while Sophia at Lancaster Capital prepared the annual report, planning to expand the Walker Lancaster Fund into neighboring regions. They balanced their joint venture with a warm home where children's laughter and the perfume of lavender always lingered. At 6:30 a.m., the piano tune alarm roused them. Sophia gently woke 5-year-old Oliver and 2-year-old Emma from their cozy beds. She carefully measured organic milk and assembled a nutritious breakfast: fresh fruit, whole grain waffles, and oatmeal with ground almonds. Meanwhile, Ethan reviewed his day's schedule in his home office. 9 a.m., tech meeting. 11 a.m., Green Fund conference. 2 p.m., social impact project briefing. The family gathered at the breakfast table. Margaret and Anna arrived to help with the children. Richard Lancaster flew in from London for a strategic planning session. The kitchen rang with laughter. After breakfast, Ethan lifted Oliver onto his shoulders and Sophia carried Emma, dropping them off at preschool, backpacks snug and faces bright, before exchanging a tender smile and heading to the day's work. At 9 a.m. in the 15th floor boardroom, Ethan chaired a Willow Investments meeting. Polished oak floors, a long glass conference table, and an LED dashboard displayed user growth charts, 25% new downloads this quarter, but low social engagement metrics. Ethan, we need to improve the real-time connection between investors and social enterprises. UX lead, more video pitches and group chat features? Ethan, yes, but keep the interface simple for newcomers. After nearly 2 hours, they concluded with a detailed plan: allocate more UX resources, invite social media advisors, and launch Investor Day next month in Crestmont. At 11 a.m., Sophia arrived at Green Fund's headquarters to present the fund's Pay It Forward initiative, where each scholarship recipient mentors the next generation. The Green Fund director nodded approvingly. This aligns perfectly with our ESG goals. We're ready to pledge $200,000 for year 1. Sophia, thank you. We'll collaborate with Windermere and Crestmont faculty to select students with strong social leadership potential. Their discussion marked a pivotal expansion of the fund, extending its impact to remote communities. By 5:30 p.m., Ethan left the office to pick up Oliver, who chattered about his nature class while little Emma giggled at a ladybug on her window. They grabbed dumplings on the way home, then reunited with Sophia at the cottage by Willow River. At 6:30 p.m., the family gathered for dinner in the backyard: Sophia's chicken and mushroom hot pot, Ethan stoking the barbecue, Margaret and Anna arranging a vibrant salad, and Richard pouring a robust red. Laughter rose amid the chirping crickets and the scent of fresh herbs. The next evening, an unexpected summer thunderstorm struck. Lightning cracked, sheets of rain pounded the windows. Oliver trembled and clung tight to his mother. Emma watched wide-eyed as raindrops streaked past the glass. Sophia comforted the children. "It's okay, I'm right here." Ethan quickly started the backup generator, switched on lanterns, and reassured Margaret, who feared thunder due to her age, hugging her gently. In that tense moment, they realized that no matter how peaceful life seemed, trials could arrive unbidden, and the true measure of family was solidarity through every storm. The following morning, beneath clear skies, Ethan and Sophia boarded the Crestmont Express to Toronto, where they would inaugurate Walker Lancaster Canada Fund. On the high-speed train, they reviewed strategy, student selection criteria, operational model, legal compliance. Though their faces were serious, their eyes met often with the same shared purpose: to spread impact and hope. In Toronto, they spent busy days meeting Ontario officials for permits, recruiting local staff, and planning the Riverdale High launch ceremony. 1 month later, at Riverdale High's auditorium, packed with students, parents, and international partners, Ethan and Sophia appeared on stage together. The Canada Fund officially awarded its first 30 scholarships and launched a mentoring program led by Crestmont alumni. After the ceremony, they joined volunteers in clearing the hall and then dined by Lake Ontario at a cozy cafe. Looking out over the still waters, Sophia rested her hand on Ethan's shoulder. "Sophia, we've taken another big step today." He embraced her. "Ethan, there are many journeys ahead, but we have each other." The river flowed on, carrying their dreams and determination. Together they pressed forward, expanding their reach, inspiring futures, an ever-renewing cycle of love, gratitude, and collective aspiration.